I think my husband is not responsible for this pregnancy, his boss in his office is. What are you talking about? How could this be? Talk to me. It all started on my wedding day. I and Daniel exchanged vows, we were surrounded by family and friends, laughter and joy filled the air, as we promised to love each other for eternity. It was a day filled with dreams and expectations. We've planned that the next day, we are traveling to Obudu Cattle Ranch in Calabar to spend our honeymoon. That wedding night, after the last guests had left, Daniel was so tired, but he smiled at me, so full of hope, of love. And then, there was a tap on his shoulder. It was Mr. Justin's, his boss.
Congratulations, Daniel. I have a little surprise for you.
He said with a disarming smile. But we never knew what the surprise was. Just as we got home, the door burst open. 2 police officers stormed in, handcuffs glinting in the soft lighting.
Daniel, you're under arrest for possession of illegal substances.
What? This must be a mistake.
He begged them to believe him.
This is a mistake.
He shouted. But they didn't care. They just took him away. I stood frozen in shock, my wedding dress billowing around like a cloud of despair. Daniel, no. I cried, rushing after him. I felt helpless as I watched my husband being taken away, my heart shattering at the thought of my wedding night being stolen from me. Mr. Justins had planted cocaine in Daniel's car. He orchestrated everything, the arrest, the accusations, all of it.
You'll be lucky if you get out in 30 years.
The officer warned Daniel as he was processed. The weight of despair settled heavily on him. He had just married the love of his life, and now he was facing a nightmare. Meanwhile, I was filled with emotions, confusion, fear, and anger coursed through my veins. How could this happen?
I can help him, you know.
Excuse me.
I've wanted you for a long time. I've helped you many times, but you refused to sleep with me. Now, all you have to do is sleep with me, and I'll make sure he's free by morning.
My heart raced at his words. The very thought made my stomach churn. No, I won't do that. I replied, my voice trembling. But deep down, the fear of losing Daniel weighed heavily on my conscience. As the night stretched on, desperation set in. What can I do to save my husband?
When you decide, give me a call. I'm leaving.
My day had been ruined. Tomorrow was supposed to be our honeymoon, but now, look at it. Oh God, why me? Tears poured down my cheeks like a stream of water. That night, I felt so weak as I went home. Is this how my life will be? I'm 28 years old, and my husband, Daniel, is 40. In 30 years, if at all he will be released by then, I'll be 58, and he'll be 70. Can I really wait that long? I love him deeply, but will our love survive this? I couldn't sleep. As soon as I entered the house, I collapsed on the floor, my mind racing through the events of the day, the joyful wedding, the sudden arrest, the cold cell, and worst of all, Mr. Justin's exact words echo in my head.
Now, all you have to do is sleep with me, and I'll make sure he's free by morning.
I tried to shake it off, but I couldn't. Could that be the only way? No, I can't do it. I'll call him tomorrow and plead with him, but I must also find out how the case will go. The night felt endless. I kept checking the time, but the clock seemed to move too slowly. I stood up, paced around, sat back on the chair, and finally lay on the floor again, weak and exhausted. I didn't even know when I fell asleep. I woke up at 9 a.m. I quickly freshened up, prepared a meal, and rushed to the station. One of the kind officers allowed me to spend time with Daniel, who was behind bars. As I looked at Daniel, the sight of him in just shorts made my heart ache. His normally vibrant spirit, dulled by the grim surroundings, looking so defeated, broke me. Tears welled up in my eyes, and his eyes were red too. Daniel looked like he wanted to cry, but he braved it out.
Don't worry, I believe I'll be out soon. Our honeymoon was supposed to be today at Obudu. We can still make this moment memorable. I love you.
I love you too. He cracked some jokes, and soon, despite everything, I found myself smiling. We laughed together, almost forgetting the bars between us. He leaned in, and between the iron rods, our lips met in a tender, passionate kiss.
Honeymoon half spent.
He teased, and we laughed. It felt like for a moment, nothing else mattered. The atmosphere was suffocating, yet within that cell, as we shared a moment of laughter, I could almost forget we were trapped in this nightmare. I wanted to tell Daniel about Mr. Justin's demand. But would that change anything? Maybe I should call and plead with him, maybe he'd change his mind.
What is it?
Oh, I'm fine. I was just wondering how you'd cope. Before I knew it, the officer returned and said my time was up. I hadn't realized hours had passed. As I walked away, the weight of reality hit me again, heavy as ever. As I was leaving, another officer hurried up to me.
Madam, if you really love your husband, you need to do something quickly. In 2 days, they'll be moving him to Lagos. The charges are severe, and the evidence against him is strong. He might be sentenced to life, or 30 years in prison. You know what that means. I heard Mr. Justins is your husband's boss. He might be able to help. Why not reach out to him?
My pulse raced. I nodded, murmured a quick thanks, and left, feeling even more burdened than before. That evening, I went home, my heart heavy with despair. I picked up my phone, and dialed Justin's number. Hello, sir.
Yes. Have you finally made up your mind?
Please, sir, I'm begging you. I can't do this. Ask for anything else, but not this.
Young lady, imagine losing your husband when you have an option to save him. Think about how your marriage will end. Can you stay single? Because I doubt he's ever getting out. You should start planning for another man now. And the next man will sleep with you. So what's so special about this? You have today and tomorrow to decide.
I collapsed onto the floor, the weight of it all crashing down on me. I reached out to anyone who might help, but no one seemed to care. The darkness felt endless. Lord, I don't know where else to turn. Daniel is innocent, he has been arrested by the police as if he is a criminal. Father, you see everything. You know the truth, and you promised never to leave or forsake us. You said in Psalm 34:17, the righteous cry out, and the Lord hears them, he delivers them from all their troubles. Lord, I am crying out to you tonight. Hear me, Father. Deliver Daniel from this injustice. Father, in the book of Exodus, you parted the Red Sea for the Israelites, when they had no way out. You delivered Daniel from the lions, when he was thrown into the den unjustly. You rescued Joseph from the prison, where he was sent because of lies. Lord, Daniel's situation feels just like theirs. I know you are the same God. Please, Lord, part the seas of this injustice. Shut the mouths of the lions that seek to devour him. Isaiah 54:17 says, no weapon forged against you will prevail, and you will refute every tongue that accuses you. Father, I declare this over Daniel's life. Every false accusation, every weapon formed by those who hate him, it will not stand. Lord, I trust that you will clear his name, and shame his enemies. Lord, I don't have the power to fight this battle, but I know you do. You said in Exodus 14:14, the Lord will fight for you, you need only to be still. Father, I am still before you now. Fight for Daniel. Fight for our marriage. Fight for our future. Father, it hurts so much. My heart feels broken, and the loneliness is unbearable. But I know you are near to the brokenhearted. You said in Psalm 9:9, the Lord is a refuge for the oppressed, a stronghold in times of trouble. Be my refuge tonight, Lord. Give me strength to hold on. Amen. The next day, I returned to the station, my legs barely carrying me. As I stood in front of the bars, looking at Daniel, my heart ached with a sense of impending loss. What if this is our last moment together? Could I really wait for him, decades, perhaps? Tears blurred my vision, as the hopelessness of our situation sank in. Mr. Justin's voice echoed in my mind. But could I betray Daniel in order to save him? He deserved better. Yet, if I did nothing, I risked losing him forever. What kind of life would we have after this? We used to dream of a future full of joy, but now we were drowning in despair. How had it come to this? For the first time, I saw Daniel cry. His eyes were red and swollen.
So, this is it. They'll move me to Lagos tomorrow.
I could barely make out his words, but the impact hit me like a storm. This was the end. I didn't realize my time was up, until the officer touched my arm and said, "Madam, your time is up." "No," I screamed, collapsing to the floor. "My husband is innocent. Please." I cried out, desperate, my voice raw with grief. "Daniel, no." Tears rolled down Daniel's face, as the officers gently pulled me up, and led me outside. I was weak, barely able to stand. Kano to Lagos, it felt like a world away. How could I ever visit him? I went home, my body numb. I picked up my phone, hands trembling as I dialed Mr. Justin's number. He answered, but said nothing. "Hello."
So, are you ready now?
"Yes."
Meet me at Vibes Hotel at 9 p.m. When you get there, call me, and I'll give you the room number.
I hung up, speechless. I lay on the floor, utterly broken, having not eaten all day. I couldn't. There was no appetite for food when my world was crumbling. I was still on the floor crying when I slept off, and I had a dream.
Peace be with you, Laura. Why are you troubled?
Who are you? How do you know my name?
I've been sent to you, because you are about to make a decision that grieves the heart of God. You think you have no other choice, but I am here to tell you that you do.
I don't want to sin, but it is my husband we are talking about here. No one is coming to help me.
Laura, do you not know that the Lord sees all things? He sees your pain, your tears, and your sacrifice. But the path you are considering is not the way. In 1 Corinthians 6:18, flee from sexual immorality. All other sins a person commits are outside the body, but whoever sins sexually sins against their own body. You are about to defile your body, the temple of the Holy Spirit, to save your husband. But the Lord says this is not His will for you.
But what can I do? I've prayed and cried, but nothing has changed.
Proverb 3:5-6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to Him, and He will make your paths straight." The Lord has already begun working to deliver Daniel. But you must wait on Him and trust His timing.
I woke and checked the clock, it was almost 9 p.m. I forced myself to stand, though my legs felt like lead. The weight of the decision I had just made pressed down on me. Finally, I arrived at Vibes Hotel. I dialed his number, my hand shaking. "Room 101, he said simply. I entered the hotel, the hallway feeling endless. As I walked toward the door, my legs trembling beneath me. Inside the room, Mr. Justin stood, his eyes cold, and void of empathy. "Please, sir, I beg you, don't make me do this."
Young woman, you are wasting time.
He gently pushed me toward the bed. I felt powerless, trapped in a nightmare. As I lay there, my body trembled, not from desire, but from fear. "Stop, please, don't do this to me," I cried, but he didn't listen. The weight of my situation pressed down on me, leaving me feeling utterly helpless. I closed my eyes, trying to disappear into my mind. Tears streamed silently down my cheeks, but I had no strength left to fight. My body felt heavy, almost numb, as though I were detached from myself. Finally, I heard him get up, adjusting his clothes, as if nothing had happened. I lay there, my body numb, and my heart heavy with shame. The sound of his footsteps echoed as he walked around the room, and then the door opened, and he left. I heard his voice outside, making calls, but I couldn't make out the words. Everything was a blur. In the midnight, I woke up in the middle of the night. The room was dark and cold. My body ached all over, but it was the heaviness in my heart that crushed me the most. I felt empty, broken. I couldn't stop the tears. Every inch of me felt violated, and I couldn't shake the disgust that clung to my skin. How has my life come to this? I thought I was doing this for love, for Daniel. But now, I wasn't sure if I could live with myself. God, please forgive me. Forgive me, I'm very sorry. I do not have any other option, please forgive me. At dawn, I freshened up, dragging myself out of the hotel, barely able to walk. My legs were weak, my body sore, and my heart felt shattered beyond repair. I went to the police station, my heart full of dread, but clinging to the hope that Daniel would be free. I was sure Mr. Justins had kept his word. But when I arrived, my world shattered again. Daniel was still locked up. I barely had time to register what was happening, before the officer allowed me to see him. As soon as I saw Daniel's face, the words slipped out before I could stop them. No, this is not the plan.
What do you mean, this isn't the plan? What do you mean, this isn't the plan?
He repeated, his voice rising. He looked at me like I was a stranger. My words had struck him deep. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. His gaze burned into me, searching for answers I couldn't give. Tears filled my eyes, but I didn't have the strength to explain. All I could do was tell him, I'm sorry, I'll be back. I turned and rushed out of the station, my heart pounding in my chest. One of the officers approached me as I left.
Madam, you're lucky. Your husband's name was removed from the list of those being transferred to Lagos.
But her words barely registered. I needed answers. I needed to know what was happening. I found a quiet corner and dialed Mr. Justin's number, my hands shaking with rage and desperation. Meanwhile, back in the cell, Daniel was consumed with doubt.
So she set this up. The woman I've given everything to, has betrayed me. The woman I loved was behind this suffering.
Tears streamed down Daniel's face, as the weight of despair settled in his heart. I kept trying to reach Mr. Justins, but his line was busy. After several attempts, he finally answered, and my frustration boiled over. Why is my husband still locked up? Is this some kind of game?
Let's meet at the hotel at 6 p.m. There are things I need to tell you, important things for his release, hopefully by tomorrow.
I hesitated, but the urgency of the situation gnawed at me. Reluctantly, I agreed. Back home, I quickly prepared a meal and brought it to Daniel at the station. As I entered, the tension was thick in the air. Darling.
Laura, what do you mean by, this isn't the plan?
So, you're calling me by my name now. What's all this? I told you, it's all for the best.
What best?
Just eat, you'll be out by tomorrow.
I'd rather starve than take anything from you.
You don't understand. I whispered, but the officer entered, signaling the end of my visit. I looked back at Daniel, feeling helpless. Daniel, it's not what you think. I said, but the words fell flat as I walked away. Exhausted and overwhelmed, I returned home, replaying Daniel's words in my head. How could I open up to him, when everything seemed to be falling apart? Eventually, fatigue overtook me, and I slipped into a deep sleep, only to wake up at 7 p.m. to 3 missed calls from Mr. Justin's. Panic surged through me. I quickly called him back. "I'm on my way." I rushed to get ready, knowing the meeting wouldn't be easy. When I arrived at Vibes Hotel, I headed to the hotel room. I found Mr. Justin's, his shirt pulled out already, smiling as if everything was normal. "Why are you dressed like that?"
Calm down. Why so harsh? Come here.
"Don't come any closer. I'm losing my husband's trust. My marriage is falling apart because of you. What are the important details you wanted to share?"
Tomorrow morning, I'll personally go and make sure he's released. Yesterday was just to ensure his name isn't on the list of those being transferred to Lagos detention.
This wasn't the plan. Tears streamed down my face. I walked to the door, pulled the key from the lock, and shoved it into my handbag. "No one is leaving tonight. We're going to the station, first thing in the morning."
Please, it hasn't come to that. Just calm down.
He stammered, quickly picking up his shirt, realizing I wasn't backing down. I moved closer, and snatched his phone. "If you want to shout, shout. Let the world know what you're up to."
I need to take my meal by 9 p.m. I can't stay out late today.
I ignored him. He kept pleading until he eventually fell asleep. I stayed awake, my heart pounding. I couldn't believe I had found this boldness, but tears welled up, as I thought of Daniel, alone in his cell. At dawn, at the station, Mr. Nate arrived at 6 a.m. The officer saluted him as he walked in, asking for Daniel's whereabouts. When he finally saw Daniel, his heart sank.
Daniel, who did this to you? I can't believe this. It was a setup. I knew it, but there was nothing I could do. You should have called me. It all happened so quickly. I didn't have time to think. When I came back from my trip last night, I went straight to your house around 8 p.m. I knocked and knocked, called your phone, but got no answer. No, my wife should have been home. I doubt it. There was no one there. I even circled around the house, knocking and checking. This morning, I went again, but it was still empty. Then, on my way out, someone told me you'd been arrested and brought here, so I came straight to the station. Where has Laura been? Does she not even sleep at home? I swear, you're leaving here right now.
He made a call, and within minutes, Daniel was released. He then made another call, ordering an investigation to be completed by the next day.
Thank you. I swear, whoever is behind this will end up in prison.
As Daniel and Mr. Nate stepped out of the station, Daniel looked up, and froze. His heart sank as he saw Laura and Mr. Justin's, both emerging together from the car.
Look at that, Daniel, isn't that your wife? And who's that man?
Laura and Mr. Justin's froze in place, as they spotted Daniel and Mr. Nate standing by the station's entrance. Laura's heart pounded so loudly, she feared everyone could hear it. Daniel didn't even glance her way, his cold silence cutting deeper than any words could. Mr. Nate, noticing the tension, broke the uneasy stillness.
What's going on? Daniel, talk to your wife.
Mr. Justin stood still, his mind racing. What could he say? His plans were falling apart right in front of him.
Justin's has finally killed me. If anything happens to my marriage, don't think yours will be safe either. Good morning, darling,
She greeted softly, hoping her voice would reach him. But it didn't. He remained stoic, his face hardened. Turning to Mr. Nate, she greeted him as well, trying to hide the turmoil bubbling inside her. Mr. Nate nodded, sensing the brewing storm, but keeping his tone light.
Okay, let's not make a scene. Both of you, get into the car. I'll drop you home.
Daniel, without a word, entered the car. Laura followed behind him, her heart aching with each step. The silence inside the car was suffocating, the tension so thick, it felt like the air had been sucked out of the vehicle. Minutes passed in utter quiet. Then, finally, Mr. Nate, always the one to lighten the mood, broke the silence.
I have a surprise for both of you. Tomorrow, I'll come visit. Laura, make something delicious for Daniel, okay? And don't forget to make that goat pepper soup for me, I'm coming to eat. You and goat pepper soup. You've never changed. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much. God bless you for me. Prepare that goat pepper soup.
I will. Thank you so much.
What happened? How was Daniel released?
The man was released under orders from a top official in the government. A man who controls the nation's security affairs.
Is that all?
There's an investigation underway. The report just came in. Everyone involved in this setup, everyone, will be brought to justice.
What should I do?
I don't know. Don't involve me in this.
I'll call you later.
What if I tell him the truth? Will he understand? Will he still love me?
Hello, Nate.
Listen up, Daniel, I know things aren't right with you and Laura, but let me tell you something. Marriage is not like buying from a seller. You don't just leave because you're offended. Marriage is a bond, a soul-to-soul connection. You're the man of the house, yes, but don't let that make you think you always have to be right. You've got to be patient. Listen, and accommodate. It's about communication. Without communication, the sweetness in a relationship fades. When she talks, listen. When you talk, let her be with love. You just got married, bro. Started on the right foot. If something is wrong, handle it with care. No one's perfect, not even her.
Thank you, Nate.
You're welcome, and don't forget, I'm still coming for that pepper soup.
I haven't forgotten, my friend. Darling.
Did I heard right? Did Daniel just called me darling?
She felt her heart skip a beat. She wiped her face quickly, wondering if she was dreaming. But then she heard it again, darling, where are you? Laura slowly turned, only to see Daniel walking toward her.
I still love you, nothing will shake us, okay? I'm sorry for how I acted.
I love you too. I tried so hard to get you out. I didn't know how to tell you.
You did, but why didn't you tell me?
I thought I could handle it on my own. I didn't want to add to your stress.
Is that why you were acting strange the other day, when they were supposed to move me to Lagos detention? Sorry, darling. But how much did you pay to help me?
Laura hesitated, her guilt weighing down every word. She looked away, her voice barely audible.
It wasn't cash, Daniel. I.
It's okay, darling. We all make mistakes. Sometimes we get caught up in the hands of fraudsters. I'm just happy I'm free now. Let's not dwell on it.
But Laura's tears only intensified. She tried to manage a weak smile, but the truth was lodged deep in her throat. She wasn't sure if she could go on without confessing. The weight of the secret was too much to bear. She took a deep breath, her voice shaky.
Daniel, there's something else I need to tell you.
What do you mean? What is it?
I don't want to lose you. Promise me you'll keep loving me.
I promise.
They held each other tight, and for a moment, it seemed like the storm had passed. Daniel pulled back, smiled softly, and said,
I need to shower. I'm hungry too, so hurry up.
Laura decided that once everything settled, maybe by the weekend, she would open up to Daniel, and whatever the outcome, she would take it in good faith. 2 days later, Mr. Justins arrived at work, only to be handed a letter from his company headquarters, stating that he should take a leave, and wait for further instructions. Confused, he tried making calls, but no one provided a clear answer. He returned home, unsettled. When his wife saw him, she asked,
"You're back so early. Did you forget something?"
Mr. Justins shook his head, handing her the letter. She read it, her eyes wide with shock.
"They just asked you to rest and wait for further instructions. Something doesn't feel right."
Could this be because of the case? He had paid Officer Julius dollars to cover his tracks, so why this sudden change? He quickly dialed Julius' number, but the officer's number was unreachable.
I'm leaving the country tomorrow morning.
"Leaving? Why? What's going on? Is there something I don't know?"
Don't worry about it. I just need to take care of something urgent.
But just as he began planning his escape, a loud knock echoed at the door. His heart raced.
Could it be? Check who is at the door.
"Okay."
Madam, you're under arrest.
Justin's blood ran cold. He made a sudden move to flee, but the officers rushed in, pinning him before he could escape.
Please, we can settle this here. But my wife is innocent.
"What have I done? What's going on?"
Your account was used to transfer money to 4 suspects in custody. Let's move.
I've got good news. The 4 officers involved in your case, along with one man named Mr. Justins and his wife, have been arrested. The investigation is still ongoing. We're looking into all his calls and movements to find out if more people are involved. We learned he lodged in a hotel for 2 nights.
What if they find out? She realized it was time to open up to Daniel. She couldn't wait until the weekend anymore. After a brief discussion, Mr. Nate left. Determined, Laura decided to prepare a delicious meal for Daniel, and after dinner, she would finally tell him everything. A few minutes later, Mr. Nate called Daniel.
I want to talk to you about something, but you need to calm down.
We learned there was a call between your wife and Mr. Justin's, and they were both seen at a hotel those 2 nights.
Hello, are you there? Yeah. I'm aware.
Oh really?
Yeah, I told her to play along, so that I could be free. That's why you saw them together that morning. We never knew he was behind all of this.
Okay, that's fine.
Daniel stood frozen for a moment, before walking straight to the kitchen. He stood by the door and asked,
Is it true?
I wanted your freedom at all costs. I was going to tell you 2 days ago, but I thought it would be better to wait until the weekend. Honey, I'm so sorry. I've been carrying this burden alone. Please forgive me. You can do whatever you wish, but I'm just happy you're free, and I'm free from this guilt.
But why didn't you tell me? It's better for me to rot in jail, than for you to have slept with another man.
His heart broke, tears slipping down his cheeks. He reached for Laura, pulling her into a tight embrace.
It's okay. I love you so much.
I love you more. Months later, Laura gave birth, but a shadow loomed over them. She feared the child might be Mr. Justin's. They both waited anxiously for the paternity results. The moment finally arrived, and as the doctor handed over the paper, Daniel and Laura held their breath.
It's confirmed. Daniel is the father.
Yes.
Oh, thank you, Jesus. May your name be praised. Daniel held her close, as they both wept in relief. They named the child, Promise, a symbol of their renewed faith and love.